Hello everyone, my name is Izzy, and this is my review for The Hills of Estrella Rojas by Ashley Robin Franklin. The Hills of Estrella Rojas is a story about love, paranormal mystery, and familial healing. It centers on two girls. Kat, who is a podcaster and college student from Austin, Texas, who after receiving a strange email seeks to find out the truth behind the mysterious floating lights above Estrella Rojas' hills. And Mari, who is a high school senior visiting the small town after many years for her abuela's funeral. We follow them as they dive deeper into and explore the secrets of the mysterious rural Texas town. The two girls grow closer as they discover what seems to be a paranormal conspiracy involving multiple local residents. Now, there are multiple elements of this book that stand out immediately, and I think elevate the reading experience to a whole new level. One of these being my personal favorite, the distinction between night and day in the cross-section of the book. Now, I have the book right here, and if you look closely, you can see that there's these distinct lighter white areas and these distinct darker black areas of the book. And obviously, the lighter sections being scenes taking place during the day, and darker sections being scenes taking place at night. And I think this is a really interesting choice, because it allows you to almost predict when an intense or action-packed scene is going to come up. It's increasingly evident as you read further along, and if you're like me and you like to guess and try and predict what's going to happen, then it makes for a really fun reading experience. I'm someone who talks to themselves a lot, especially when they're reading, and I found myself being like, oh, this is going to happen or that's going to happen, and it really, having a visual guide almost, enhanced that in me, I think. That's just me personally, but it really, I think, allows you to be engaged with the book, because you can kind of see like, oh, I'm coming up close onto this big gap of like darker pages. What's gonna happen? Oh my goodness. It makes you want to keep reading because you want to get to that next part. And it doesn't help that there are sections where there's like smaller gaps in between, so you're just like, oh, I can read a little more, it's fine. Like I said, it keeps you engaged, and I think that's really fun, and it makes the experience a whole lot more interesting. Another element that I find quite interesting is the way Ashley Robin Franklin uses color, and line weight in particular, to depict various emotionally impactful scenes. Now, when I say this, I mean that she'll go from having really beautifully colorful panels to all of a sudden monochromatic, almost lifeless panels. And I don't mean lifeless in like a negative way at all. What I mean is that you go from like, wow, in your face, like colors, to all of a sudden, a lot of the times it's these very deep blues and purples, sometimes pinks, but mainly I want to focus on the blues and the purples and the really like what are typically really intense, sometimes sad, somber, or just generally even frightening scenes where they're just really impactful, and you know a character is experiencing like a sudden like jolt of emotion. And the swift change from lots of color to one color very much is like a hit to the chest, and you feel what that character is feeling. Like, I know there were a couple moments while I was reading where it really was just like, wow, so pretty colors, and I'm just like, wow, this story, just going through, reading, and all of a sudden you flip the page and it's like, boom, there it is. And you're like, oh, you're hit with that same emotion that character just experienced. It's a really enlightening experience almost, because you're like in tune with that character, you are connected to that character, you're feeling their feelings. And I think when any creator is able to do that, it is very impactful. And now, as for line weight in particular, there are a few panels in this where you are reminded that this is a paranormal horror novel. Not novel, comic, my bad. You're reminded that this is a paranormal horror, I guess graphic novel. There we go. That's the word. I can speak, guys. Can you tell? Okay. I digress. They're just the shading, the deep, scratchy looking line. I don't know if that makes sense, but there's these deep, scratchy looking lines that just like, ooh, they get you. Like, you, like, you're reminded that, wow, okay, you're supposed to be freaked out. And it helps because there are so many moments where the characters are freaked out, and we're back to the thing where you start feeling what they're feeling. Their fear becomes your own fear. And that just, I'm not huge on horror, but man, it makes reading this book so much more fun. Now, it's enough of like all these technical elements of like the composition and everything. I'll stop gushing about that. I can go on about it for hours. On to some more narrative choices that the book makes. No boy. Man, I said I could talk about technical choices for hours. The narrative choices. I'm a writer at heart. I love, 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 love analyzing writing. But we're not going to do that here. We're just going to go plain and simple. What did I like? What was my absolute favorite thing? I won't say much because I don't want to spoil anything. That's not what this review is. No spoilers here. No major spoilers, at least. And so I'll keep it brief. But the ending, oh my goodness. There's a reveal, and that's all I'll say because, like I said, that's all I'll say. I'll leave it at that. There's a big reveal, and oh my goodness, was it worth it? It was so satisfying, and it was handled marvelously. Franklin really portrays her characters so perfectly. And when I say that, I mean the people of Estrella Rojas are constantly portrayed as these standoffish people who are adverse to outsiders. And we see this time and time again, especially with Mari's family, in particular her Aunt Liliana and her cousin Isabel, where they are often cold or sometimes just plain mean or rude, especially in Isabel's case, towards Kat and Mari, which is very interesting because it's like that's their family, so you would expect them to be just a little nicer, but sometimes they treat her just like she's an outsider, which it makes sense after a while as you read. Now I'll say this, it's not too big of a spoiler, but you find out that the reason why the people of Estrella Rojas are so adverse to outsiders is because any outsiders they've had have been there for one reason. The same as Kat. They've been trying to discover any secrets or paranormal-esque things regarding the town. And you can imagine if that's the only reason people are visiting, it'd get a little annoying or tiring. But considering further plot points, it makes it all better. I'll leave it at that, but yeah. The build-up that you learn and experience while reading this book, it feels like a lot. It's just things piling up, piling up, piling up, piling up, and it all culminates into what is really a satisfying, beautifully crafted, heartwarming ending. And yeah, it made me feel things. It was nice. It was very nice to see. Another thing that I absolutely loved, and a bit of a spoiler warning here because I'm going to be talking about the epilogue of the book. It was nice, sweet, and simple. It was a cute little open-ended slice of life style ending, and nothing too long or grandiose. And I think it was the perfect way to end off such a long, well-crafted story like this. Like, there was so much complexity woven throughout this story that I think just having a nice little fluff ending was amazing. Now, I personally think that it was open-ended and there was some potential there for a sequel. I know I wouldn't be opposed to a sequel. I would pick that thing up so fast because I enjoyed this book so much. I would absolutely give huge praise to Ashley Robin Franklin.